Hey, what's going on, Outlaw fans? Thank you for joining us this sultry Tuesday evening, as it were. If you're anything like we are here in Northeast Missouri, then you know that we are in the dog days of summer out there. Heat indices of into the 100 degrees out there. Humidity so thick you can cut it with a knife. Hey, at the risk of sounding a little bit on the nose, a little bit cheesy, the only thing hotter than the weather and the only thing getting thicker and tighter than the humidity out there, it's that outlaw truck and tractor pulling season and the points races. Wow, are we topsy-turvy yet or what? Let's go back 2 weeks, and we made this big deal about how we had 8 shows in 5 days. It was this massive sweep that we were on. Can you believe it? 8 shows in 5 days. Truth be told, we hit the ground even harder this past weekend where we did 7 shows in 3 days. All sorts of narratives developed, all sorts of stories developed, and we've got a huge show for you here tonight. Like always, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what's going on. Let us know what pool you're going to next. So we're going to recap some of the big stories from this past weekend. We're going to have your super modified 2-wheel drive truck current points leaders and weekend sweep winners. We're going to be talking to John and David Hunt out of Texas, where they picked up the win Friday and Saturday night back to back to continue truly what's been a mega season for those pullers right there. Talked to them back in February in Louisville, where they said, hey, we're going to come running points with Outlaws again. Was super excited there. Got to meet them a little bit more at Colbert, Oklahoma, where they had a massive weekend and they were in the winner's circle all weekend long again. And I really wanted to throw some highlights to De Leon, Texas from this past weekend. We were live in Weeping Water, Nebraska. And then, of course, we were live in Washington, Missouri both nights. We were live in West Point, Nebraska, as well as in Mobile. But I wanted to make sure that we were able to highlight that big pull they have down there in De Leon, Texas. So as I was going through and looking at the stories, kind of one of those, my eyebrows didn't raise too much. I saw the Hunt family pick up the win on Friday and Saturday. So I wanted to hear that story directly from the horse's mouth right there. Are you heading out, bud? Got a little assistance up here tonight. My son Alec is he's heading out on me. He was back behind me. This is kind of a sub story. I guess I'll show you guys this as well. So we have been building our Puller magazine collection. Let me know out there, anybody big fans of the Puller back in the day? Did you grow up reading the Puller? I've been building my magazine collection. Excuse the dirty bed back there too. We had a lot of company this past weekend, so all the mattresses are stripped. But we've got a project going on back there where I've got about 5 decades worth of Puller's magazines. It's a magazine I grew up reading as a pulling fan, and through some acquisition and just knowing some right people, my collection's been built. So my youngest son, Alec, was back there doing some labeling work, but he decided it was time to go downstairs and get some BLTs. So we'll get back on track. Last weekend, huge weekend. We're going to tell you the stories from De Leon, Texas, as well as talk a little bit about what we saw in Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska. And then yet again, we're looking forward to this weekend. We're going to catch our breath. No pulls until Friday night, but Friday night we've got 2 of them. We've got Gibbon, Nebraska. We've got Coffeyville, Kansas. We've got the promoters from both shows coming on. And then after that, outlaw truck and tractor pulling fans, promoters, announcers, drivers, buckle up and throttle down. Iowa State Fair, 3 days of Wisner, maybe the biggest week that we have all season long. Things are going to be awesome. Great shows in Nebraska and Iowa this week. I was up there in Weeping Water on Thursday. West Point, always a phenomenal time. If you're ever considering going to West Point, I would really start putting it as a destination pull. 2 tracks, 110 hooks, 2.5 hours. Those guys are just absolute professionals. And Mobile, just year after year, continues to surprise me at how good of a show that is. It's a track that will sneak up on drivers as to how bitey it is. It looks like it's going to fall apart, but it doesn't. Their fans are great. We met Miss Iowa 2025. That was phenomenal, sang the best rendition of the national anthem I've heard all year. And the competition was great as well. Let's get caught up on some comments, and then we'll start bringing some of our guests on right here. Got a lot of you watching again tonight. We appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. Cole Lundahl says, evening from Wakefield, Nebraska. Cole, it's always great to see you. A good friend of mine, you were at Weeping Water. Did you also go to Mobile? I know you didn't work for us at Mobile, but you did a great job on the camera in Weeping Water. Tim Dunclow, hope everything's going well. I saw that you pulled in Weeping Water, I believe. Correct me if I am wrong right there, but Always wonderful to see you and your family back out on the pulling track. Ben Beller checking in from Kansas says, good afternoon, everybody. Going to go to Coffeyville on Friday. That's what we love to hear. I was looking at Coffeyville and I was thinking, man, maybe I can persuade Ron into trading me shows. Gibbon, boy, that's a long ways out there. Kansas, that sounds like a lot closer to Missouri. Shoot, Coffeyville's down there by Oklahoma. It's just as far from home. So, Ben, I don't know where in Kansas you're from, but you might have a nice little road trip, too, as we're heading back down to the Oklahoma border. Terry Mammon, my good buddy from Correctionville, Iowa, watching from Correctionville, driver of the Fat Chance Cockshut. Nice job this weekend, Terry. Another smooth set of runs all across the board. Great job in Mobile. Terry let us use his Packer at Mobile. I guess that's a pretty close to a hometown pull for him as well. So another great weekend, Terry. Keep up the good work. You're a great ambassador of the sport. Jim Swartzman checking in from Tonganoxie, Kansas. Awesome. Tina and Eric Berger checking in from Wilbur. And, of course, they're going to be in Wisner. That's going to be awesome. That'll be here before you know it. Alan Wickline says, has every puller since 1989. Love to hear it. That's awesome. That's my goal. I'm trying to compile a complete set. As a matter of fact, I think 1989 is the only year so far. I've got a lot of boxes to go through where I know for a fact I have every single issue. So that's way cool. I think I have a full set of 89. I might have a full set of 85. But what I've got back there right now dates back to 1976. So I really look forward into working through this. It took me about a half an afternoon before I realized I need a bigger structured system. So we're going to go raid the department stores and find some big 3-ring binders. I think it's important to preserve this stuff. You know, if you've got every edition of the puller, hold on to that. We're a very niche audience out there. It's a great way to maintain historical records for pulling. There's a finite amount of them. Let's try to preserve the history of this great sport that we love as much as we can. Easton Motley says, what is my favorite tractor? Great question. I'll answer that. Why not? And I'll go pulling tractor on that. Growing up as a kid, and I'm going to shift outside the Outlaws a little bit right here because we don't want to have an announcer bias. But growing up as a kid from Northeast Missouri, obviously, the most dominant tractor in the early 1990s was just about an hour away with Brian and Ernie Connor with the Bad Medicine White 2180. I loved that one. But truly, my absolute favorite was probably Stan and Steve Blagrave with the old school 1066 Red Horse out of Ackerley, Texas. I remember just absolutely loving everything about that tractor growing up as a kid. Fair question, fun question. John and Jake Fleming says, good evening from Palo, Kansas. Thank you for watching, guys. Cole Londahl says he was indeed on camera in West Point, took pictures in Mobile. Look forward to seeing them. Get some of those posted. You do great work. Chris Pierce says, checking in from South Dakota. Hey, got to meet you out there in Wayne. To the pools, man. Ben Beller says, right at 70 miles. Okay, so you're from southern Kansas. And like always, Mark Willis watching from Carrollton, Missouri. So great audience tonight. Always keep the comments coming. I like the questions. Think about what questions you have for the promoters coming up this weekend. What do you want to know about Coffeyville? What do you want to know about Gibbon? And do you have any questions for David and John Hunt, drivers of Taz and Shameless super modified 2-wheel drive trucks? Doug Borth checking in, saying good evening from Texas. Doug Voth, I should say. Doug Borth, our former member of the Beer Money pulling team out there. We'll just call you Zook Fukerberg and just keep your incognito style going right there. Let's pull up some results. DeLeon is one, I've never been to Texas. I'd like to go to Texas. I hear great things about DeLeon. I hear mixed reviews. I hear that it is one of the greatest tractor pulls you'll ever go to. I hear it's the hottest freaking place on planet Earth. People say that the weather and the fire ants down there are real, but they say that the tractor pull is awesome. So like I said, we'll hit some standings really quick because we're going to be talking to your points leaders in the 2-wheel drive truck division. David Hunt currently sitting number 1 in points with Shameless out of Leonard, Texas, 211 points to his credit. And then Cole Zijek with the Texas Two-Step is pursuing his 5th national championship of all time if he can slide into that number 1 spot. But right now, the Hunt father-son pulling team maintaining a comfortable lead with the Shameless truck. And as we slide over here to our results, got to go all the way to the bottom now because this event is finished. We come over here to DeLeon on Friday night, two-wheel drive trucks. Looks like they had a bunch of them. Looks like they had a great show. David Hunt, Shameless, walking away with the win out of 13 total trucks. That was on Friday. And then on Saturday, taking the win again, this time sliding in front of Whitey Zijek, your current all-time points leader with 14 national points championships. Don Hunt grabbing the fourth place finish on Saturday night out of, again, 13 total trucks. I want to hear all about it. I didn't get to watch DeLeon. Having these guys on the show, A, they're points leaders. B, they swept the weekend. C, they're awesome. But D, I need a firsthand report of what happened in DeLeon. Let's hear all about it. David, John, how are you guys doing? How's everything down in Texas today?
It's hot.
So we were correct when we said that DeLeon. Now, Leonard, is that East Texas or West Texas? Where are you guys at?
North Central. We're almost Oklahoma, north of Dallas.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if you were going to Coffeyville, that wouldn't be crazy for you guys. You'd be jumping across the state right there. Or like, let's say if you're going to Atoka or something like that, where our buddy Keith Sutherland lives, not terribly far, I assume.
We're about 30 minutes southeast of Colbert.
Oh, okay. Yep. So right down in there. So
I know you've never been to Whitewright, but we're 11 miles east of Whitewright.
I was 5 miles from Texas when I was in Colbert and did not jump down across. But I did tell my wife today, I said, you know what? I'm kind of done, messing around with it. I want to go to Lufkin. I said, I think I'm going to take a couple days off and I'm going to fly down to Lufkin, enough with this not going to Texas, enough with not going to the final pull of the year. So I'm going to try to make my way to Texas. But yeah, you say it's hot. Was it hot in DeLeon? They always say DeLeon is a swelter out there.
I've never been there when it wasn't hot. It was like 102, but no air blowing. It felt like a blow dryer the whole time.
I can believe it. So let's talk about your season you're having and kind of bring me up to speed on DeLeon. First of all, you guys are sitting number 1 in points right now with the Shameless truck. And then if we look at Taz, I'm sure that it's right up in there too. It's currently sitting number 7, but leading points, taking turns driving both vehicles, both kind of working together. Just how you feeling? Is this what you anticipated, or give me your reflections on it so far?
Yeah, we set our sights on the Outlaw points to try to run top 5 with both trucks. And the points haven't updated, but I think John is right there at or just below the number 5 in Taz.
Okay.
And we run a body shop in McKinney, Texas, that we can't both leave because John is our estimator and deals with the insurance companies, and I run the office, and Candy, his wife, is our receptionist, so we can't all be gone all the time. So we decided that this year we were going to split it up, and on the what I'll call the further north pools, John and Candy and Levi were going to take the trucks and compete with both of them up there, and I was going to make the ones somewhat closer to home. I am going to Wisner next week, but at the fair, John will be at both of those.
Awesome. Now, how would you say, and this is John, you can weigh in too as well. You had your sights set on top 5 for both trucks, sitting number 1, sitting around that 5-6 position. What's kind of got you there? How's the season going? Is this the setup before the year? Is this just years of knowledge? Just kind of tell me about how you guys have been able to have the year you've had.
I think it's mostly just, we've learned a lot over the last few years. We started pulling in 04 and took a little break in about 09 and got back in, I think, in 17. And in that time, in that 10-year time frame that we were out of it, the sport just rapidly changed. The way everything was done has changed so much, and we've had to adapt. And I think, we've adapted well, and then just, learning what the truck's like. And that Shameless truck, it's happy right now. It's just it's almost like it can do no wrong, but I'm sure we'll screw that up at some point.
So I had a great treat. You talk about you guys kind of split your time between the northern, group and the southern group. Ron and I are a little bit the same way, and Ron sticks a little bit more south. I stick a little bit more north. And Ron, he's always usually with the big horsepower. He's got the mods, he's got the 2-wheelers. And then I hang out with my smoke blowing group up north, the Super Farms and the LLPs and stuff. But Sac City, Iowa was the first time that I got to hang out with your class since, probably Rock Valley or something like that. you talk about how Shameless can do no wrong right now. Now, I do think that track at Sac City got a little tired towards the end, but you went and took that lead early, went out there and pulled, and you won that thing 30 feet. I mean, it just looked like, it just couldn't have almost messed up if it tried. When a driver says their vehicle, it's just happy right now, what do you mean by that? I mean, is that just set up everything where it needs to be, or the motor, or walk me through what the secret sauce is without revealing your secrets?
Right. So the one at Sac City, that was actually in the Taz truck.
Okay. You forgive me because you've gone T-bucket on both of them this year.
Yes, exactly.
So we'll talk about that in a second. So that was your truck picking up the win.
Right.
Now, did that track just get tired on you guys and there wasn't anything left to be found, or was Taz just on a pass that night?
Both. Taz was on a pass. That was the best that I felt in that truck all year. We're still kind of trying to learn what that truck likes. It's every truck has its own little tweaks that it likes, and we're still kind of learning it. But the track did start going away towards the end. It got to where it didn't want to roll back in and started getting rough. But that was just it was an early hook, and everything just lined up perfect. Now with the Shameless truck, we come out at Ravenna beginning of the year and swept the weekend there too.
Yep.
It was a shock. I mean, we wanted to come out, we wanted to do good, but the caliber of trucks that we pull with is just outstanding. I mean, they are definitely the best, toughest trucks that you can come across in pulling, as far as I'm concerned.
I want to really hammer that home. I want to agree with what you say. And obviously, Outlaw banner, you can see got 3 logos right behind me on the screen right here. So I'm a huge believer in our association. And I think there's great two-wheelers out there. I think that there's good ones in the division straight east of us. I think there's good ones with NTPA. I think there's a bunch of great ones up there in Minnesota. But I would say that dollars to donuts, the Outlaws and the super modified two-wheel drive trucks have about the toughest competition. I mean, when you look at, you've got U2 pulling, you've got Zyjex pulling, you've got Neves, and then you've got Donald Nelson, who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's a lot of iron to get around night in, night out. Now you talk about Shameless and Taz. So I want to kind of get these straight. Your Taz truck that's now a T-bucket edition, is this a former truck from a former group in Texas?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually built that truck new in 20.
Okay.
We had that truck built new. We ran it a few times and hurt the motor in it, and it was going to be out for a while. And Ray Miller was wanting to upgrade, and he bought the truck. He bought the chassis from us and put his engine combination in it. And I believe he went out that year and won the Outlaw Points Championship in it.
Yeah, if this was around 23, and if this was, the another bad decision truck or bad decision, I do know that Ray Miller was a points champion that year.
Yep.
So you were running the full body Colorado around this point in time, right?
Yes. So we ran, I called it the Blue Taz because it was the old thin blue line truck. It was, it's now called Desperado 2.0.
Okay. That's a good history on that one too.
Yep. So we had that truck that we ran in 23 and 24 and 25. We ran NTPA Grand National 24, ended up runner-up in points that year with it.
Sure.
And,
it's actually leading NTPA points right now.
Yeah.
As a Desperado.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is funny. So if you look at, so when Ray Miller, you guys built the truck that would later come back to you as Taz, he wins a points championship with it. You have your full body version of Taz. It goes up and hits. So there's some strong pedigree with the vehicles that come through your shop. So David, your Shameless truck, I can remember seeing it at Louisville on more than one occasion. What's its kind of background or history? Has it always been right there with you, or walk us through that one?
And I think it was 2008. I bought a chassis from Jeremy Nelson when he had a chassis under his truck, under Midnight Gambler. So I bought his chassis, got back into pulling, put everything together, ran it a few years, wanted to upgrade a little more, and I bought the Shameless chassis from Simon's. It was actually never been down the track. It was a brand new chassis that they had built with a truck body on it. And we brought it down here and switched the motor over, built the body onto it, and started running it like it is. So nobody's actually ever run this truck but us.
I love the history of this? Because this feels like that we're taking a who's who in the world of super modified two-wheel drive trucks. We're throwing them in a hat and we're pulling out and being like, oh yeah, here's a story that pertains to, when you're talking about, the Nelsons in Illinois, and you're talking about, the Simons. Obviously, these are long withstanding, tough running trucks. Now you guys looking to put your own stamp on it. I've got the history, I've got the notes, but I don't have it in front of me. Let's talk about points championships to your credit. Do you guys have, a handful? Have you been points champs a couple times before?
2005, we were the Outlaw champions.
Okay.
And we've won a couple of Texas Association championships over the years. Like John said, he was runner-up in NTPA. I was 10th a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The only the one that we have with the Outlaws in 05.
Is in 2005.
It was 33 hooks in 3.5 months. That was a grind that year.
And I know a big goal for the Outlaws this season was to get your class closer to that more sensible, that more attainable number of about 18 hooks. Has that been a nice, you talk about 33 in a year. I think I've done about 20 to 25 pulls this year. I'm getting tired. I can't imagine what 33 would be like. So is 18, is that kind of the perfect bread and butter number to get you guys through a season and keep you competitive, keep you in points?
For us, it really is.
Yeah.
And it's not only the number, but the way they have them structured, where we can go on the road and make 2 or 3 hooks.
Yeah.
Come back and then make one somewhat local to us. I know it's backwards for the guys up north, but the way they spread it out across the Midwest, it makes it to where it's doable for us without having to stay gone for weeks at a time.
And I think it's important too. One thing I've always kind of looked at the Outlaws, schedule plan and business plan, and I've said we really need to keep an emphasis on Texas. We ask you guys from Texas to come up and run in Nebraska and Iowa a lot. And I think it's important that we have some good, strong events down there in Texas as well, because, well, you might hear some other guys being like, man, it's so far to drive down there. Well, look at what you guys do every single weekend when you're coming up here, what Donald or Cameron or those guys are doing, where they're running, 2 classes and whatnot. So to have an event in De Leon, how far away is De Leon from you guys?
It's about 4 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours for us. It's west.
Yeah. Now, 3.5 to 4 hours for a Texan, I'm learning that's a Sunday drive, right? I mean, that's as good as for you guys.
See, Rock Valley is 14 hours.
Cameron gives me a hard time. He says, Mike, I drive for longer than you drive to a pull just to get out of my home state sometimes when I'm going from he goes, I drive 6 hours and I've made it out of Texas. You drive 6 hours and you've made it to Rock Valley, So
think about Don or Whitey or Cameron, you can add 5 hours in any direction to those.
Yeah. Cameron being out west and Donald being down in the southeast, but you guys might have it a little better, but Texas is still big, still a long ways from everything. But
even Blagrave's a good 7 or 8 hours from us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, out there in Ackerley. I think they're pretty close to where the Neveses are. I think McAdoo, Ackerley. I just call that kind of Lubbock. I think it's all out there in that area.
They're south of Lubbock, probably an hour or so.
Southwest, I believe.
Yeah, southwest of Lubbock, probably an hour and a half or so.
Yeah. They're going to end up on an episode of Landman one of these days, is what I keep thinking out there, and something in Odessa or something like that. So tell me about De Leon. I've never been. I saw a few videos from it. The dirt looks a lot different than the dirt I saw this weekend. Just give me your thoughts on the pull, on the competition, and how Shameless did pulling down there.
It's a really sandy track. It takes quite a bit of water and a lot of work to try to keep it somewhat consistent. I know some of the mod pullers were having issues learning early with the dry on one side and wet on the other. And we watched all those classes run, trying to decide Friday where we were going to spot the sled. And I ended up with Shameless. I did a cross track. I started on the left side where it was a little wetter, and I ended up on the right center side where it was the sled hadn't dug the track out quite so much, and that I attribute that to winning that class. Don Nelson was an inch or two behind me, and I think the only reason he didn't pass me is he got in my tracks and spun out.
Oh, is that right? So you hooked before him. Did he take a similar strategy and kind of try to cross track over to that corner as well, or?
He went down the right side, but that's where I ended up, and he was coming. So I think luck was on our side on that hook and on a bunch of hooks this year. We've had some good draws and some good luck, and made a few good decisions and got lucky on several more. Saturday night, my hook was really ugly taking off. I misjudged the starting line. It spun. I backed up a little bit, but when I got back into it, the tires were hooked, and it carried me on out. And I really didn't expect that to hold up, but the track, I guess, kind of went away towards the end of the class, and we got lucky and held on.
Now, you mentioned it was kind of a sandy, surface that's not as compact, maybe not as tacky. Is that something that your truck, prefers, or is it just at this point, you've been pulling long enough, you kind of know how to handle different soil types?
Well, John is a track reader. He's the second best track reader I know behind Whitey. And he really makes some good decisions about where to spot the sled and how to take off with it. It's tough to pick a type of dirt that the trucks are happiest with. We just kind of have to adapt to what we've got. There is some clay in that track, and when they get the water right, which I felt like they did this weekend, they got it right for the most part. It'll bite pretty good, but that sled will stop you in a hurry on that stuff too.
And which sled did you guys have? Gary down there?
Yeah, we did.
So Gary had a good road trip this weekend. Then he went down there and he's kind of reinvented that sled. I'm hearing that sled will put the brakes on you guys a lot quicker than it did about a year or two ago.
They've reworked the pan on that thing, and he's got his sled settings down. I mean, he knows. Yeah. He's been to Deleon so many times. He knows what to set it at. He's like, we're going to go 320, and we were 321. I mean, he's right there. When it pan hits the ground, it puts the brakes on you now.
Yeah, that one, they put new grousers on that one. They actually did quite a bit of work kind of revamping that sled. But you're right with Gary. I talked to him before every pull. He's really he's his own biggest self-critic. I mean, he says, I want to take this class this exact distance. And if you talk to him after the pull, he keeps notes on that stuff. And he says, the pro stockers got me, or so-and-so, or everyone else, I was right here. Tonight was a B+ performance. I mean, he takes that stuff serious. I think he does a phenomenal job. It almost looked like, is that a 3-track show? I know that sounds like a crazy question, but it looks like there's just tons of room between the grandstands down there.
So there's enough room for it to be a 3-track show, but it's a 2-track, and they leave a wide lane down the middle for the announcer, and they leave a return road down each side.
So a little bit like White Right, other than it's not grass down the middle.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like White Right. They had it's not grass down the middle. It's all sand because they do a rodeo there too.
Oh, okay.
So it's all red dirt, red sand. And then for the left track will return road down the right side. The right track will return road down the left side. That way you can go by the crowd on both sides. Yeah,
which is a ton of room for pullers. That makes a great show for fans to see them coming off there as well. This sounds like a good event. Tell me about your weekend. How did Taz perform down there? Looked like you had a good Saturday night. Tell me about Friday night too.
Yeah, we ended up coming out fourth both nights.
Okay, good.
Still trying to learn the truck a little bit. I put a new set of tires on it at Rock Valley. I had Bob Nichols cut me a new set of tires to put on it, and it is really it has woke that truck up. It's starting to come around a lot better. We're setting them up exactly the same. I got to find that little fine tune that truck really wants.
I've really seen a new tire war starting to develop in the two-wheelers this year. So you said you got some new ones and you feel happy with that. I saw at Rock Valley, we saw another new brand kind of make a debut with a fellow Texan down there. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that maybe is or is not a factor, moving forward. Like you said, as you kind of learn this new to you or new back to you pickup truck. So what do you guys have slated coming up? I think you've got this weekend off, right? You're not going to, there's no Gibbon or Coffeyville.
No, are you pulling this weekend off?
Are you pulling any Texas pulls this weekend or anything?
Nope. Next Texas pull is going to be Abilene. It's September 11th and 12th, which is the same weekend as Unionville and Buckner.
Oh, okay. So you guys will be up here hanging out with us, I assume, as you're sitting 1-5 in points. You're going to be chasing that as well. So are you gearing up for State Fair and Wisner? You get some time to go home and take a break.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, when you go home, is that 2 weeks spent on looking through both T-buckets with a fine-tooth comb, or is that a time to reset and gather yourself as a driver, or is it time to get caught up on work? What's your routine when you get back home after these pulls?
All of the above.
Yeah.
We we get home and obviously we work every day. Both of us, we're at the shop every day. He usually gets there about 7. I'll show up at 8, and we leave at 5, and then we'll come home and work on the truck. So I've got a 9-year-old, so he'll be 9 Friday.
Yeah.
I got a 9-year-old that started school today, so that's been kind of crazy, and got trucks need to get serviced and get everything back, check everything over, make sure they're ready for the fair.
Yeah. And then we'll be a big week of pulling that week. That'll be a ton of fun. A lot of things can happen in a short amount of time. How do you guys celebrate a win? You got 2 wins this weekend. You've had several to your credit. You guys go back and, eat a big steak dinner, or what's the hunt way of capping off a perfect weekend?
Well, perfect weekend or bad weekend, either one, we go. We end up at the other pullers' trailers, and Whitey and Don and Cameron and all those guys usually feed us. Andrew Sprock, if he's there, usually feeds us. We just kind of go hang out with them, and it's not so much a celebration of winning, but like I say, every time we go to a pull, it's about the camaraderie we have with the other pullers. We spend 13 seconds going down the track, an hour or so getting ready to go down the track, and the rest of the time we're just hanging out and enjoying our competitors and friends there.
Yeah, we'll go eat with Richard and Tammy and Don and Whitey and all them, just kind of bounce trailer to trailer and hang out and have a cold adult beverage and talk about who screwed up that night or who did great, or just kind of hang out and pick at each other and pick fun at each other. Cole's eye check usually tries to give my kid a hard time. He likes to pick on my son a lot. So
what a great group. I mean, you really just think about that. That's, I would say, just about everyone you named right there has made a major contribution to the sport of pulling in the past 30, 40, 50 years in one regard or another. And to just have them as the people you're hanging out with night in, night out, and to be the group that the Outlaws have running with us, that's great stuff. To go out there, have some fun, win or lose, you're helping each other out behind the scenes. I think that speaks a lot for what your class is about, what the Outlaws are about, and what Texas is about. I've really noticed you guys are great people to hang out with. Got a lot of people I call good friends down there. But it sounds like you had a wonderful weekend in De Leon. Going to go home, recoup, and get a little rest, get both trucks back ready to go. Any major adjustments we're making on either one, or are you kind of just going through and checking filters, checking tires, making sure everything is where it needs to be?
We'll probably clean the tires up this week. The set that's on Shameless has a lot of hooks on it, and we haven't cleaned them up, sharpened them yet. We're making a blower change on Shameless. We're putting a fresher blower on so we can send the other one off and get it and restripped. And other than that, just running valves, checking filters.
Yeah. Perfect.
Ready to go.
Trying to clean all the De Leon red dirt off of them.
Yeah. You guys are body men, so I know that it's just as important that they look good as that they run good as well out there. So give them a little shine up too is going to be good. I want to give you guys the opportunity. I'm just going to turn it over to you. Anybody you'd like to thank, or any shout outs or hellos you'd like to send to any family members or fans out there. It takes a village to go pulling. So if there's anything that you guys would like to say before we round this out, go right ahead.
You're better at that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I need to start off my wife and kid. Candy and Levi, they go with me. When we go up north, it's me, my wife, and my son. That's it. It's just us three. And dragging 2 trucks around and getting across the scales and getting them ready and back and forth. It is definitely a full-time job, but I couldn't do it if they weren't there with me. We've got John Card at Sassy Racing Engines, John and Carol. They got the power plants and these things, and they're making the power. We use Bob Nichols for the tires. He has been a great addition to our team. I'm on the phone with him, if not daily, at least a couple of times a week, talking about what we can change and what the tire might like better. Just everybody, the 2-wheel drive pullers that are pulling with us and helping us make sure that, especially when I'm up there with just me, Candy, and Levi, when we're up there alone, by ourselves, Donald Whitey, Andrew Sprock, Josh Rail, all of them guys, they make sure that, do I need any help? Make sure she's good. Make sure, does she need help getting a starter off of it or anything like that? It's just, it takes, when you say it takes a village, it takes the village and the community. It takes the entire organization to make this happen. and we wouldn't be where we are without them.
My wife Jonna at home while John's on the road helping me keep things going around the house and the shop, and when I'm at the pool, she goes with me and with us and helps tremendously too. And of course, Levi, our crew chief, he's really learning a lot about this, and he's a champion garden tractor puller already, and he's looking forward to getting to see one of these trucks when he turns 16. So
that'll be here before you know it. I mean, really, that's going to be happening soon. You guys might end up being a 3-truck team out there. Well, David,
we still got the old original Taz body hanging up there in the roof.
That's one of those. Hey, that's just in case, right? Yep.
That's waiting for Levi, right?
Yeah,
there.
Levi says that's going to be his first truck. So I'm waiting on him.
Already a done deal. I love it. Well, guys, I'm so glad I got the chance to speak with you a little bit more. I've met you just a little bit throughout the season, but I look forward to having more conversations. Thanks for coming on our show here tonight. Sweeping the weekend in the home state and sitting number 1 and top 5 in points. The plan is coming together. Best of luck in the 2026 season, and we'll see you down the road, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. David and John Hunt right there. Super cool father-son team. 2 nicer guys I don't know that you'll ever meet out there. They're gracious winners. It seems like I run into them in the winner circle a lot, and just always happy to be there. And really strong pullers. You know, we talk about 2-wheel drives out of Texas, and you hear Donald Nelson and Whitey Zyjek. Don't sleep on these guys. These guys are perennial finishers. Listen to the lineage of those trucks right there with all the names and affiliations that they have been with. Awesome job out there. Happy for DeLeon that went well. Happy for all the pulls that we had this weekend that went well. Looking forward to the pulls that we're going to have this upcoming weekend. We've got 2 of them for you. A long-standing outlaw tradition and one that's new on the schedule for me for 2026. Looking to hear more about it. Of course, I'm talking about Gibbon. They say that this was the 4th of July destination for decades. They've switched to their August date now, and Coffeyville, like I said, that's the first time I've seen that one on the schedule. Let's bring on promoter John Ewalt out of Gibbon, Nebraska. He's going to tell us all about it. John, thanks for joining me tonight. How's everything out there in central Nebraska?
Yeah, she was a little bit warm this week, so
I can believe that. You know, the 2 times I've been out there to Gibbon, it's pretty roasty toasty out there. That's a setup where we kind of talk about it's almost like a desert out there in central Nebraska where everything's dry except the pulling track. The pulling track is always perfect dirt out there. But yeah, I bet it was a little warm. Are you gearing up for the pull this Friday night?
we've got the sound system all up and pretty well ready. Everything's kind of looks like a golf course. We've got it mowed up good and bleachers checked, and most of the track equipment is there and greased and pretty well ready. They're talking a high of 81 degrees on Friday.
Ooh, you can't beat that. Perfect. Now, you've jumped dates around a little bit. I've heard this old school story. I've talked to Fred Petch, Mark Ulmer, several others, and they said Gibbon used to be synonymous with 4th of July. For decades or for years, that was the place that everybody pulled. Were you involved with it throughout all that time? Tell us about that 4th of July pulling out there in Gibbon.
You know, this is year 56, and it was on the 4th until, it's probably been 15 years ago, 10 years ago. We couldn't get the 4th of July. You know, that's the way the cards laid out for us, and we decided to go later in the year. And now we can do it in the evening instead of a noon start on the 4th of July, 140 degrees, it feels like. And now with the evening show, it's just starting to cool off, and the crowd loves it. We've had better crowds, I think, every year. And it was sad to break the tradition, but boy, it was the best decision we ever made.
So we went from the 4th of July to the past 2 years I was out there. It was kind of the very tail end of July or the very first week of August, but it looks like you guys have picked up kind of another date again this year, moved around on the calendar a little bit. Talk to us about kind of just the development of going into the 2026 season and how that came to be.
We were a little later this year. I think there were some conflicts with some county fairs, and obviously a county fair can't change its date, but where we're not tied to anything, we elected to move back a week. And I guess we got basically every class we wanted this year, and hopefully we don't have too much carnage. I know we added the 4-1s to just no points but a payout, and unfortunately I hear we had some catastrophic failure from one of our hometown guys, and it sounded like one of the other ones is wounded pretty bad right now too. So
yeah, unfortunately, it really that trap at Weeping Water claimed some victims. Gary Barrett was having a phenomenal season, and it ended the tractor, split the block. Tractor is done for the year. I've actually heard since that, as optimistic as you can be, that it wasn't as bad as they were afraid of. Now, what that means, I don't know. They said that it's not as bad as some others. But then also on top of that, later that same night, we did find out that another 4-1, David Novak and his tractor does have a cracked block.
Sounded like they were pretty similar.
Almost identical. Now obviously, Barrett's kind of was the next step after the crack, and then Novak decided to shut his down. Now, here's what I'm kind of optimistic about with us not competing against, the heart of fair season. It seems like that final week in July, first week of August, that is just, there's a county fair everywhere. And we've pushed our date back a little bit, and you've got 9 classes, 3,200 super field, light limited pro, light super ag, modified 2-wheel drive, pro stock 4-wheel drive, pro stock tractors, pro street diesel trucks, and super farms. I'm pretty optimistic that with us not being on top of a bunch of other fairs, we should see those numbers rise back up again. In 2024, when I went out there, it was huge. I want to say we had 100 vehicles, it felt like. 2025, we ran into multiple other events going on the same night. I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to see a nice rebound this year. What's your thoughts on that?
We shoot to try to have 70 some odd hooks in that range. With 2 tracks, we can get it done in about 2.5 hours, and that's pretty much the crowd. They get bored sitting there after that anyway. So, but with the evening and the sun going down, it'll be nice and cool, and hopefully the humidity's been extremely high here just recently, but today, with the sun out all day, it kind of broke that a little bit. So hopefully everybody's will run good with the weather we're having.
Yep. And I want to send this out there to the fans and the pullers too. Is Gibbon a little bit farther west than we go? Maybe, not a ton. I mean, you guys are kind of straight south of Ravenna. You're out there in that kind of Grand Island area. But the track, the track and the venue are some of my favorite that I go to all year. This track is wildly impressive at how good it is year after year. Fans, if you're on the fence about going, this is me as an announcer saying, go to this one because the setup is great. The iron is great out there. And 2.5 hours, that's exactly what fans want. We were visibly at a show. I forget where we were. It was one of these, and we could watch them. We hit about 3 hours and 10 minutes, and we were halfway through a class, and poof, there went the crowd, So if you can run these efficiently, set them up to where you're purposefully making a 2.5 hour show, that's really going to keep your crowd engaged. That's going to drive up, concession sales. That's just going to help everything be successful. Speaking of crowd and sales and everything, we got a 7:00 start time. When can fans get in? What's their best way to get in? How much is it going to cost them? Tell them kind of the quick rundown of it.
The gates open at 5 for people to come in. It's $20 per person. I believe it's 12 and under is free. We've got it. They want to do cash because obviously credit cards is kind of a hassle for the people at the gates, but we should have plenty of seating. We've got multiple food vendors on hand this year, so we should be set for that. Like you were saying about our track, though, I mean, this wasn't just we're pulling on a piece of dirt. We specifically built this track with a white clay and sand mix, and it holds moisture and it packs and it hooks hard.
Yes, it absolutely does. And if I remember right, too, you're kind of like Rock Valley or a couple others. If I get there the day before or even early that day, you said it looks like a golf course. You've got organic material on top of it. You've got a layer of grass on top of this, if I remember right. And you don't even open that up and disc that in until the night before, the morning of the pull, which I'm a believer. holds that dirt together. I've really seen that work well with pulling tracks. And you'll look around and it's kind of in this trucking company, railroad yard, it's whatever you want to call it, and everything looks dry. And then the minute you guys open this track up, it's like you walk to a eastern Missouri river bottom. It is black, khaki, moist soil, and you're like, that is going to be a good track. That is not this dry western Nebraska stuff that is sitting around here.
Well, and that white clay that we have, and the first year we built this track, it's kind of funny because we used to grade the sides and have a berm on the sides. And before you add moisture to it, it looks like it's blow sand or even dust. You can just about blow it out of your hand. But boy, once you add that water and start mixing it, it is the best track you can have, I think.
Yep. It really is. It really is one of the most fair. You know, we love this idea of a horsepower track and a biting track. We've gotten to the point where sometimes those can be overbuilt, and you can see those that'll snuff a turbo on the big side. I don't know how to say this one's just fair. I mean, people talk about Toma dirt, you know, people talk about Toma, Wisconsin. I would say that Gibbon, Nebraska is in that same vein. It lets them get up and run, but it holds together, it packs back together well, and it will surprise. That'll be the first thing a new fan will say is when they get there, they'll look at that track and they'll be like, oh, that's a built track. That's not just dirt that's laid in out here. So $20 to get in. You said gates open at 5 or gates open at 6?
The gates open at 5.
Open pits? Do they have to have a pit pass or anything?
Open pits. We kind of like it when people walk through and mingle. I guess that gives them a better idea of what they're watching out there, and hopefully that gives them a chance to understand the difference in some of the classes with the multiple turbos. And
yeah, no doubt about it.
And I might be a little biased being my hometown, but it's my favorite track to pull on.
I will honestly say that, and this is not just an announcer blowing smoke. I watch a lot of pulling tracks, and this one I truly see to be a very well-built and a very fair track. It's one of the first things you notice when you go there. And the announcer stand. You guys have like the slickest announcer stand that I get to stand in all year long. It's really nice up there too. It's a great venue, folks. Go and check it out. Can fans bring in any sort of coolers or anything, or are they going to have everything they need right there on site?
Coolers and whatever beverage you want to have in it is welcome.
There you go.
Bring your lawn chairs if you want to sit in front of the bleachers. We have some room for that. I know this year we added a deal where we have class sponsors, and we're going to present trophies to the winners of the classes this year. And so we're building. We gained a few nice young kids that brought a lot of life back into our pool, and it sure is driving it to be the next level. So,
and that's wonderful, because I think it was kind of at that point where it was ready for some life to be thrown into it. And it was kind of at that point where you're kind of wondering, okay, this is a long historical running pool. Is it kind of ready to ride off into the sunset, or is it ready to be reinvented? And I love that we're at that point where we're saying, no, we've got some new blood. We're reinventing it. Because I really think, based on the history I've heard, this is a big outlaw pull, and I'd love to see it continue to endure as a big outlaw pull. The venue's phenomenal. The track's phenomenal. The pits are great. It's easy to get in and around at. It's a wonderful spot out there. You said you have some class sponsors. Is there any sponsors you'd like to go ahead and thank, or anybody you'd like to give a shout out to right now on the podcast?
I guess I'll leave that up to you that day. We'll have you a list of some nice sponsors.
This is my favorite and least favorite question to ask as an announcer, because when you do ask it, that's when they say, I've got half of them here, but I don't want to read them because I don't want to leave anybody out right there.
And so that's what I'm afraid of. I'll forget one of them for sure.
I know that I'm putting people on the spot when I ask them that, but I also want to make sure you have the opportunity to give those title sponsors. So we'll go ahead and say all of those supporting and sponsoring the Gibbon Tractor Pull, thank you so much. And we'll make sure we give you some shout outs throughout the night, and we'll take care of that. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on. I'm looking forward to it. You know, we all got a chance to kind of catch our breath this week with the Outlaws. It's been show after show after show. All eyes going to be on Coffeyville and Gibbon. You know, we've got 2 Friday night shows this week. So everyone up north, we're looking at Gibbon. Everyone down south looking at Coffeyville. You know, nice opportunity to let this pool stand alone and shine. And I look forward to being a part of it out there.
I do have one thing, I guess, where we have the 2.6 as a regional level hook this year. we're worried about getting enough trucks to come. So any of the guys that do have trucks that are watching, we are doing a additional $100 for fuel if they'll come to Gibbon and hook, if that will help them to maybe get their trucks back out of the shed for a longer drive.
Every 2.6 truck that comes to Gibbon, as they roll in, this is not in prize money. This is as a thank you.
In addition to the prize money, we'll have $100 for fuel for them.
But they don't have to earn it. You could come in dead last. But
that's
thank
right.
you for coming. Diesel's expensive. Here's a $100
just
bill.
for driving there, knowing that it's a regional hook, and it's a harder choice for them to come for a regional hook without points. But if they show up, I guess they'll have at least some more extra money with fuel paid for at least. So
you'd be surprised how far something like that goes to pullers out there. I've seen other promoters in Nebraska do that before, and pullers really find that does not fall on deaf ears. That's something that's very much appreciated. So calling all 2.6 trucks, they want to help you out. It's a regional hook, but some extra fuel money is going to go in your pocket just for showing up. Come on out, check it out at Ravenna, Nebraska. We'll go over the class list one more time. It's a huge pull, 3,200 RPM Superfield, light limited pro stocks, limited pro stock tractor 4.1s, light super stock ags, the modified 2-wheel drive trucks, pro stock 4-wheel drive trucks in the northern circuit, regional 2.6 pro stock tractors in the northern circuit, and super farms. John, it's going to be a great show. I'm excited already.
Well, can't wait to see you.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for coming on, and have a great week.
Yep, thank you.
All right, Johnny Walt, the promoter there of Gibbon, Nebraska. It's a great event. If you went last year, I won't beat around the bush. Numbers were low. 2 years ago, numbers were huge. But it is a great event. It's a great track. It's a great crowd. Highly encourage all pullers and fans to go check it out. Long-standing history with the Outlaws. Now, I want to talk about a pull that I haven't experienced before. So this is fun for me because we're going to learn all of what makes this pull tick right here on the podcast. We're talking about Coffeyville, Kansas, way down there in southern Kansas. We're going to bring Ryan Rexwinkle on, the promoter down there in Coffeyville. Ryan, how are you doing this evening?
Good. How are you?
We're doing awesome. So Coffeyville, Kansas. This is not one that I have seen before. I've only been with the Outlaws for about 3 or 4 years now. Is this a pull that's been with the Outlaws before, or is this your first time pulling with us?
No, we were with the Outlaws, I'm going to say 10 years ago, 8 years ago.
Sure.
And we kind of went away from changing some stuff, but we're going to be back, and we're committed, and we're going to really grow this. And this is going to be an every year deal, Friday night during the fair.
And what fair are we affiliated with down here? These are
We're
questions.
we're the Interstate Fair and Rodeo. Yep, we're the Interstate Fair and Rodeo in Coffeyville. This will be our 120th year.
No kidding. 120 years. That's awesome. So it looks like we've got 3 outlaw classes, and as I understand it, some MSTPA classes are going to come in as well. You've got the 2.6 diesel trucks pulling for national points with you guys. The Pro Stock 4x4 wheelers in the Southern Division, and then that's actually going to round out your outlaw classes right there, it looks like, and then some MSTPA classes as well. Who's coming over from MSTPA to hang out with us?
I don't know for sure on that. There were some questions about the other pools going on right now in Missouri, so they're trying to work through all that. And I just got off the phone a while ago, and we've kind of added some prize money to one of the classes too. So we're working on some things. I'm leaving it to, kind of, you guys know the sport, so we're going to do what we need to do to make it right. The tracks, I don't know if you say you've never been here, and, we talk about dirt, and it's big for you guys. And some of your guys were here the first time. They said, we've never left black marks on dirt before. And I said, yes, it will happen here. It looks, like it's like we have PRCA rodeo, and it looks soft until we roll it and water it, and then it's ready to go. And it's easy to maintain. So
now,
it's a good facility.
You guys are close to Oklahoma, right?
Right on the Oklahoma-Kansas line. Yes, sir. About an hour from Joplin.
So let's talk about all that. So Southern Missouri dirt, I've seen that. It gets, I'm from Northern Missouri, but I get down to Southern Missouri and it gets a little red. We see some of that. So down there in Southern Kansas, are we with that tacky clay, or are we starting to see some of that Oklahoma red dirt as well? What kind of soil are we talking about down there?
You ever heard of a sandy loam? It's got sand and it's a real fine dirt, and it packs really well. Our arena had clay in it. As over the years, we've got more of the sandy loam in it to help it. So it works. That's kind of the dirt we got. The clay's down there, but you won't get to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about how this had been on the outlaw schedule before and it's kind of experiencing a resurgence. Talk to us about how your rodeo or your fair kind of brought the tractor pull back, or how did we end up coming, to this, coming back down to Coffeyville, something we're excited to be doing here.
Well, we used to do the hot rods way back when, and we kind of went away with it because our board and members, and we'd done a show with you guys, and it was a great event. All the people of Outlaw, the pullers, just really a lot of good people, and it's something we want. We got seating for 10,000 people here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've got a really nice facility. We do a handful of events, but motorsports are really big in this area, and we've had guys come here and they'll say, "This is like a NASCAR, people." Fans, they want autographs, they want to walk around the pit, they want to talk to people, but they're real respectful and they're thankful that you guys are here. And so, we want a group that will take the time. We know they're trying to get their truck or their tractor ready, and it's hard for people sometimes to understand that. But with your group, you just don't find a bad person. You just don't, in your group, you just don't, they're here to have a good time and put on a good show. And that's what we want.
Here's the perfect comment. So first of all, I want to address, you say it's like NASCAR. Yeah, no doubt about it. To all you fans out there who are watching the fair and the rodeo down there in Coffeyville, yeah, this is professional level motorsports. We are one of 3 professional level pulling associations out there. But then the big difference is, and I love that you recognize the value in this, is the family driven aspect of it. Truck and tractor pullers, they are down-to-earth people who want to meet the fans. And this is an opportunity that you don't get with all other motorsports without paying for a massive pit pass or something. It's the idea of meeting vehicles. Well, Cass Griffin right here is talking to Doug Voth, saying that his son is still talking about the Griffin Growl, his pulling tractor. Thank you for interacting with the kids, just right on spot. I could have paid this guy for that comment. That's what these pullers will do. They'll take pictures with your kiddos, let them sit up in the seat. If you're an old gearhead, they'll talk to you about, how they built this transfer case or whatever. You're an old farmer, sure, they'll talk to you about the DT 466 under the hood and how this progressed from an out-of-field farming vehicle. But also you're getting professional level motorsports right there at your, fair and rodeo. Now, you said this motorsports country, but it's big rodeo country too, I assume then, right, as well?
Oh, yeah, we're real big. Justin McKee, he's from this area. We got Mr. Long, which is he's the leading prize winner in team roping right now in the PRCA. He's from here in Coffeyville. We've got a lot of heritage from down south in Oklahoma.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's big. I mean, our fans are very diverse, and we have 4 circle tracks around us that do dirt racing. So with that, and our pits are free, so you can bring your whole family out. It don't cost you anything to walk around the pits and to meet people and see people. And nowadays it's hard to have a good time with your family, and that's one of our big things is we do a fun pass for the whole week. It averages out to be $5 a show if you buy the fun pass for the whole week. If you want to buy it for the single night, it's $15 for general admission. You can bring your lawn chairs, or you can sit in one of the bleachers we have on both sides of the arena. So we try to make sure everybody goes home happy. We got lots of vendors. We've got adult beverages in both sides. So if you want that, you can have that. If you want food, we got great food. We got Carnival. We got a Midway. And we've got a big area for all the pullers. If you've never been to Coffeyville, you'll see there's 20 acres of grass. You can park, set up. Nobody's crowded. You got all the room you want. There is a few electric spots. So if the guys that have been here before, they know where they're at. The pedestals, you'll see them come in the night before. They'll grab them. And, we talked to them. I said, make yourself at home. And, so that's what it's about. So,
Yeah. And then here is, Zook Futerberg, that's his online alter ego, but this is Doug, the driver of the Griffin Growl, saying the kids kids make it worthwhile. The pullers love the fans love the pullers. $15. That is price to sell, as we would say. That is a great price for people looking for professional level, be it rodeo or motorsports, or just a great time at the local county fair out there. Now, do you see a big difference in crowd? Do you have your rodeo guys watch the rodeo and your motorsports guys watch the tractor pull, or do they all hang out together and watch everything together?
You have them hang out and watch everything together. But like this morning, we did the slack for the rodeo, and at 6 a.m. we had people sitting in here ready for the slack to start so they could watch it, because they get to see the cowboys that you see at Vegas. We had 10 guys that have been it was at Vegas last year here this morning.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it's like that's why we want to use the Outlaw, is because they bring the same thing to the table. These are not guys you're going to see and gals you're going to see once. These are, you're going to see them on the national level. And they're, you know, I mean, we like the local pullers, but you also, these kids go, well, I've never got to see that in Coffeyville. Well, that's why, you know, we want to bring, and we want to grow it. We want bigger and better. And, you know, Missouri State Fair, they've got their big pull over there, and there's a lot of pullers over there at Sedalia right now. And that's kind of what gets us sometimes, is kind of the way all that stuff falls on us. So,
yeah, no doubt about it. You talk about your rodeo guys. They're guys that have been out at, you know, at Vegas. Well, you know, our guys, they're people that are competing to go pull in Louisville, the National Farm Machinery Show, national level pullers. And, you know, talk about your fans seeing them again and again. And I just want to put that plug out there. You know, check out fullpull.live, fans, because these guys are professionals. A lot of our events, you know, you'll see out there on the television and whatnot. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying about bringing in a group that, you know, and out of field pulling is great. We see that at some pulls up there in Iowa and whatnot, and we see the local guys. And I think it's important to remember where we started, but pretty cool too for a promoter to say, hey, we're bringing the traveling, the national points to town as well. So $15 this Friday night. Or you could pay the advance price and get, you know, the fun pass for the whole weekend. What time do gates open on Friday?
They'll open at 6.
Gates open at 6.
Yep. And the show will start at 7:30 because it'll cool down a little bit. Because we are, you know, we're running about 110 a day and during the day here, so we want to let it cool down. And we want to let it cool down and let the fans be able to come in and they can eat and not be too hot. So
7:30 start time, running a handful of outlaw classes, running a handful of Missouri State classes, a group that we really like running with as well. They put on a nice show, you know, another really well-run organization down there. So kind of not too far from your all's neck of the woods if you're not too far from Joplin. Ryan, anybody that you'd like to thank this evening, any sponsors or volunteers putting this all together you'd like to give a shout out?
Oh, no, there's too many of them. I don't want to, you know, just like you said a while ago, you don't want to leave somebody out. And, you know, we're going to do a deal also for military that night. So we're going to do kind of a little surprise deal before we start with a lot of military. I'm trying to get more and more just to tell them thank you for everything. So that's going to be one of the deals. If there's a puller that's in the military and they're here, we'd like to especially recognize them and their family.
Veterans are one thing, you know, our sense of patriotism and our sense of faith are two things that we build our outlaw family on. And we always like to recognize veterans. So if we could have a really big recognition and have even more of them there, that would be so special to what we try to do with our outlaw brand. That would be wonderful. Well, Ryan,
not just the veterans, but their families. Their families suffer just as much as they do.
Active duty and even people, you know, defending us here at home. That's we couldn't do it without. We wouldn't have the freedom to go truck and tractor pulling if it weren't for what these individuals and their families, you know, sacrifice for us. So I love that you're doing that. I'm excited for you. I can feel the enthusiasm. I can see the people moving and grooving behind you. I've seen what look like cowboys and cowgirls. I'm assuming there's some rodeoers going on behind you. That's going to be tractor pullers behind you in just a couple of days. It should be a great time. Any closing thoughts before I let you get back to the fair?
No, I just want everybody to travel safe, and we'll see you Friday.
See you Friday at 7:30. Gates open at 6 o'clock. $15. I've got 2 kids. That's less than taking them to McDonald's, man.
Yeah. Go to the movies and see what it costs you.
Yeah, exactly.
Have supper.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I tell you what, if somebody on this podcast hears this and they show up at Coffeyville and they find me, I happen to know there's a smoker down here in the campground.
You just said it once already.
Yeah.
So we can get food down there for you or something.
Okay. Yep. Perfect.
So
Yep. That sounds great, Ryan. Thank you for coming on. We'll see you at 7:30 on Friday
thank you,
night.
sir.
I'm with the Outlaws in Coffeyville, Kansas. Have a great night.
You too, sir. Bye.
Thank you. All right, so there you have it, guys. What a great show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. If you have any final questions, let me know. David and John Hunt, too cool for school up there. Tammy Morris, you were spot on. I saw your comment earlier, and we'll put it up there one more time. And said, yeah, the Hunt family is the best. Yeah, love hanging out with them. That was awesome. I'm going to have to make it down 2-wheel drive lane after a show sometime. I tend to hang out with the LLPs and the Super Farm, that Schleswig gang. I hang out with those guys a lot. I hang out with the Light Limited Mod guys a lot. I'm going to have to go 2-wheel drive truck hanging after the show sometime. Way cool. Big thank you to John Ewald. John's a super nice guy. I've known him for about 2 or 3 years now. Works his tail off to put on a great pull out there at Gibbon. Let's really support that one, guys. That's a pull that has so much history with the Outlaws. Let's continue to see that pull endures in Coffeyville. Hey, you could just tell by Ryan's enthusiasm, that's going to be a fun time down there. Go early. Check out the rodeo. Hang around. Watch the pull. It's going to be a wonderful time. Outlawed Live, Tuesday night. Go home and get some rest this week. We've only got 2 pulls. Life is good. Pulling is good. And we're all going to hit the ground running on Friday. Just let me know. Are you going to Gibbon or are you going to Coffeyville? 2 great options. I highly encourage all of you to check out one of them. Mike Idle saying good night for the Outlaws. We'll see you again next Tuesday on Outlawed Live.